Good morning, guys. Here we are on day 2 of our all remote instruction. This is October the 9th, Friday. And as we've been planning all week, we are going to take the test today. You need to get this test done today. I want to get those grades in the grade book. This is the last day of the 3-week grading period. So progress reports will, however they're going to do that, you may just have to look in Skyward, but progress reports are going out next week. So let's get right to it. I will be just reading some of the questions and then maybe giving you a little bit of clarification or help on some others. So number 1, the speaker in the first stanza of the poem is the woman, the mirror, a god, or the lake. Remember, you can open up the poem. Do pay attention when it says in a certain line or a certain stanza. Make sure that you're paying attention to that specific part of the poem. I encourage you to open it with Cami. There's the first period bell, guys. Open it with Cami and mark it up as you go if you need to. So anyway, we're looking at the first stanza there for that first question. Question number 2. The use of swallow in line 2 is an example of personification. What effect does it have on the poem? So we want to go back and look at that word. I am silver and exact. I have no preconceptions. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately. Okay? It's personification of the mirror. So what effect does it have on the poem? It suggests the mirror consumes whatever is in front of it before seeing it. It suggests the mirror consumes whatever is in front of it because it is blocking the view. It suggests the mirror completely consumes whatever it sees. It suggests the mirror partially consumes whatever it sees. So pay close attention to the wording of these answer choices and look back at the text for evidence. Number 3, the metaphor, eye of a little god, in line 5, gives the impression that the mirror something. So let's look at the clues around it. The eye of a little god, four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall. It is pink with speckles. I have looked at it so long I think it is part of my heart, but it flickers. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. Okay? So, what is the effect of that metaphor, eye of a little god? Does it give you the impression that the mirror is serious, is cruel, controls all, or sees all? Eye of a little god. Number 4, when turning to those liars, the candles or the moon, and those are in italics because there's the direct quote from the poem. In line 12, the woman, something. So let's just go ahead and look at line 12. So here's line 10, 11, 12. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. I see her back. I think he literally means when she turns around to the candles and the moon, I can see her back and reflect it faithfully, truthfully, honestly. The woman, when turning to those liars, the candles or the moon, in line 12, the woman is prevented from discovering her true self, is able to discover her true identity, is seeing her true physical beauty, is hoping to hear lies about herself. Number 5, how does line 14 shape the meaning of the text? And when it says text, it just means whatever you're reading. So we're talking about the poem here. Line 14, I just want to make sure that we've got all the right lines that go with the questions. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. So I want to look at just what comes before that too. She turns to the liars and the candles and the moon. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. She rewards me with tears and agitation of hands. How does that affect the meaning of the poem? It suggests that the mirror doesn't like what it sees, as in when she turns her back and it reflects her back, the mirror doesn't like what it sees. It suggests that the mirror causes the woman to cry. It confirms that the mirror is indifferent toward the woman's feelings. Indifferent means you don't really care about something one way or the other. You're just sort of neutral about it. Or it confirms that the mirror is the most important part of the woman's life. Let's look at it one more time. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. It suggests that the mirror doesn't like what it sees. It suggests that the mirror causes the woman to cry. It confirms that the mirror is indifferent towards the woman's feelings. It confirms that the mirror is the most important part of the woman's life. I'm going to go turn the light back on real quick. That timer goes off and it's annoying. All right, number 6. Which tone is conveyed in line 15 of the poem? I am important to her. She comes and goes. She comes to see me frequently throughout the day. I am important to her. So tone is the speaker's attitude towards what he or she is speaking about. So here is the poem showing arrogance, cynicism, sarcasm, or earnestness. Now, I'm going to tell you, you need to look up every one of these words, okay, before you choose. Number 7, the author uses the words drowned in line 17 to suggest. We go back to line 17 right here. In me, she has drowned a young girl. The author uses the word drowned in line 17 to suggest the passing of time, the girl drowned in the lake, the woman accepts the aging process, the woman is unhappy about the end of a relationship. Number 8, the poem shifts in the second stanza by focusing on the mirror's feelings. Well, let's just go and look what the second stanza is. Remember, this is the first stanza. This is the second stanza. So now I am a lake is where we're starting. So how does that shift? What kind of shift in the poem is there? It focuses on the mirror's feelings, focuses on the godlike nature of the mirror, focuses on the interaction between the lake and the woman, focuses on the interaction between the woman and the fish. Okay? Notice the first line of the poem, now I am a lake, and it kind of extends that metaphor throughout until it says the drowning, the fish, all of that is part of that extended metaphor about the mirror being a lake. Number 9, select 2 choices. I know y'all love these. Select 2 choices that best describe the structure of the poem. In one of the videos that I did, I tried to help you out with this a little bit, and I hope that you did watch that and kind of remember what was going on. The poem, and also think back, I'm not going to show you, but think back about the characteristics of a lyric poem, because this is a lyric poem. All right, so the poem contains a steady beat. The poem contains lines without a fixed meter. A meter is like a pattern of syllables, like throughout it would have like the same pattern of speech throughout the whole thing, intentionally by the author. Like certain poems, sonnets have a certain meter to them. Iambic pentameter has a certain meter to it that like Shakespeare wrote in. So does this line have a fixed or constant meter? The poem contains an obvious rhyme scheme. The poem contains a strict syllabic count per line. That would mean that every line has the same number of syllables. So I don't know, go back and check. You know how to count syllables? Like here's the syllable count of this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because each one of these has one syllable and the mirror has two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So um, does every line of the poem have the same number of syllables? The poem contains 2 stanzas and 18 lines. So you're going to choose 2 of these. The poem contains a steady beat. 2 of these are true. The poem contains a steady beat. The poem contains lines without a fixed meter. The poem contains an obvious rhyme scheme. The poem contains a strict syllabic count per line. The poem contains 2 stanzas and 18 lines. Number 10. Select 2 meanings the author could be implying with the use of the simile in the last line of the poem. Rises toward her day after day like a terrible fish. So here's our simile. I think we've already discussed it a little bit. So what are 2 possible things? And we've talked about how when we're interpreting poetry or anything for that matter, interpretations can vary, but it has to be tied to the text and it has to be well thought out and reasoned and reasonable. Okay? And mostly tied to the text. So what could he be implying, what could she, be implying with the use of a simile like a terrible fish? The woman becomes more terrible each day. The woman looks like an ugly fish as she ages. The woman slowly loses her youth a little at a time. The woman sees her image moving in the same way fish move, like literally she sees the image in the mirror moving. The woman's view of her physical self grows more and more negative. Choose 2. The woman becomes more terrible each day. The woman looks like an ugly fish as she ages. The woman slowly loses her youth a little at a time. The woman sees her image moving in the same way fish move. The woman's view of her physical self grows more and more negative. Now we get to the essay questions. I am asking you, please do a good job so that you can get full credit on these. Don't worry about whether your answer is right or wrong. Be concerned with thinking it out, letting me know how you're thinking about it, what you're thinking about it. Don't write, I don't know, or I don't have a clue. Come up with something. What single idea is developed throughout the poem? Cite evidence from the poem to support your answer. Here it's asking you about the theme of the poem. And one of your questions on your previous assignment, I believe it was analyze the text, asked you about that as well. So what single idea is developed throughout the poem? What do you think the author is trying to get across to us? And number 12, how does the author of the poem integrate personification and metaphors to communicate her message? Cite evidence from the poem. So the personification, you've already had a question about that and we've already discussed it, is the mirror being given human qualities. So how does she use that to communicate her message? How does that help to communicate her message? By personifying the mirror, giving it human characteristics. And then also the use of metaphor. The metaphor, the extended metaphor, and we've already talked about this, I'm not telling you anything we had already discussed, is the lake, the mirror as a lake in the second stanza. So how does that use of that extended metaphor help convey her message? Just talk it out. All right? Don't skimp on these. You've got plenty of time there at home today, okay? Don't skimp on these. Write me 3 to 4 at least good sentences here so you can get full credit. When you only have 12 questions, you can't just goof off on 2 of them. All right? Okay, so I'm going to sign out because I want you to get started, and I will be grading throughout the day as these come in and putting them in the grade book, and you can go back to your scores. Get this finished today. and your poems. If you have not finished your poem, I got a lot of good poems yesterday already turned in. That is a simple 100 for a test grade to write a poem. Okay. And if you have any questions, email me. Oh, I wanted to show you just one more thing real quick, guys. If you want to have a Google meeting with me, I had one yesterday with a student for the first time and it works great. So you just go to whatever class period you're in. First of all, you email me and say, I need a Google meeting with you. And you go to your class period, which is that's the only thing you can go to. And then you click on this link right here at our given time. So when I open this up, it just turns on a little video for me and it says no one else is here. But when you go to click on that link and join, you'll show up here as well. Okay. And it works great. So if you need, oh, this is kind of freaky. If you need to meet with me for any reason, okay, if you're concerned about your grades and you just want to talk about it, like anything that would be a long email and you don't want to type out all of that and just be easier to ask me, kind of like calling someone instead of doing a text message. I'm fine with that. I'm here for you. So if you want a meeting, email me and let me know. All right. Have a good day, guys, and get your work done.